Hi, welcome back. This is part 2 of building the 1/24 scale Spitfire. Obviously it's a conversion from the Mark 8 to the Mark 14. Now there are considerations to make when you do this, because it's not just a case of chopping the nose off and putting a different nose on and a different propeller and the tail, of course. It is a different aeroplane inside as well, so the instrumentation is different. And I'm also building a post-war current flying aircraft, if you like. Now there are a few alternative colour schemes for that. I'll throw a few pictures up of which ones I may do. I don't have to decide just yet. Finding accurate pictures of all of the cockpit is difficult. The instrumentation's not so bad. It's the seatbelt arrangements and this rear bulkhead arrangement, because a lot of the things like the seat armour, this goes at the back of a seat, it fits in there like that, or somewhere like that. On active aircraft, wartime aircraft, that plate was in there. But if you notice on a lot of current airshow circuit airplanes, they don't bother with that because it's heavy and doesn't need to be there. It's also the case with the headrest scenario. Some headrests are there, armour plate, and some aren't, so got to consider that. And also the seat belts, they don't use World War II seat belts in current aircraft, or at least I can't see much evidence of that. I may be wrong, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I've seen quite a few where they look like seat belts out of a car, that material, or the different colours like blue or whatever. And no, they don't longer use the seat in a conventional manner, because during the Second World War a pilot would sit on his parachute, and the parachute would be the cushion which would sit in the bottom of the chair, or bottom of the seat. So on modern aircraft they don't have a parachute in there, because I don't think they consider they're going to get shot down. So they tend to sit on a makeshift aftermarket cushion that goes in the bottom of the seat. So I have to consider all those things really, because as I said, I'm not doing a wartime aircraft. But the reason I'm not doing a wartime aircraft, because I can't find any good photographs of one that look, I don't know, accurate enough to build one from it. And when I'm building a 24 scale model, I like to try and build it accurately, because you can see everything. It's such a you can't hide anything at this scale. It's all visible stuff, and this is where I like doing cockpits, because on smaller scales like 48th and 72nd in particular, I think cockpits are a waste of time. 48th, some of them are okay, but even then it's hard to scratch build a cockpit on a model like this, because the cockpits are tiny. But I think you can start to put a lot more effort into 24 scale, so I think it deserves the effort really. So the first thing I did, I started building this kit a while ago, and then I stopped doing it because of the colour scheme. I didn't want to do a Mark 8, I didn't like the colours. So that's a bog standard seat you'd get out of the kit, unless you built it straight out of the box. These colours are right. People can argue as much as you like, but the seat's not made of metal, it's made of a compressed paper. It was like an early composite material that's covered in resin, so it's not a metal seat. Yes, they get painted green and it all chips off sometimes, but generally speaking that's the colour of the seat itself. Early Mark 1 Spitfire, some of them were metal, but everything on from that point are like this. So that's whole red, is that I tend to paint them with a whole red. And it seems to look okay. It's a good colour match for the material that it is. And then the rest of the framework's obviously metal, and it's got a cover that goes over the back of the seat. Now if you look at some of the modern aeroplanes, they don't have this cover on at all, it's just bare, because I think they must put something else on when they sit on it, I don't know. But anyway, that's a kit one, and that's the shape of the seat, which is basically, it's wrong. If you look at just about every seat, they're not like that at all. They look like this. That's the shape of the seat, and that's how it should be. So I've altered this one, I've put a twist in it, I've put a bend in it, so it's got more of a curve, it's very subtle. And I've curved the top of the seat so it's the right shape now. I've also taken away all the framework, all the plastic, not that you can see it, but I just did it anyway. I've taken all the moulding seams and the lumps on the back and stuff, because it's not going to have the metal plate, and that's what that thing does. That's what this, what have I done with it? This piece here glues to that little lump at the back there, if you like. That's not going in, so it doesn't matter. So this is the seat as it is now. It just needs repainting again, and I've painted it with AK Real Colours interior cockpit green, so that's as accurate as I can possibly make it when it comes to green. It's also got some aftermarket, I don't know on that one, it has some aftermarket metal PE parts on the sides there which aren't on this one, so it just gives it a bit more detail. Same stuff as this, that's aftermarket PE as well, which is, it's got some nice ribbon in it and some rivets and all that sort of stuff, and it's nice aftermarket bits for this headrest as well. So we're going to town on this one. So that's the seat. Then we've got the seat harnesses to consider. The seat harnesses in the kit are a waste of time. They're just rubbish. They're just thick plastic lumps. They're just a waste of time. The one at the back is okay, but the ones that go over the seat itself locate completely wrong place. Too fat and thick and too simple. However, when you look at a real Spitfire that's flying about now, the seat belts are never in the middle of the seat. They just chuck them to one side so the pilot can get back in and out of it. So you tend to find them just draped right down the side of this seat, so you can't see this one hardly at all, because the anchor points are around here on these seats. They're not there, they're not through that little hole there. They're there and they're there. And if they're chucked over the side, you can't see them. You better see this one, but you can't see that one hardly at all. And then the ones that go over the back, the harness, don't go through the back of the fuselage on a Mark 14. So you don't get the going over the seat through here and then the strap and going through the post for the antenna, because it doesn't have an antenna in the Mark 14. It doesn't have one at all, it's just on, so you have to fill that in and fill it up. So the framework for the antennas doesn't need to be put in, and neither does the seat belt that comes across here, because it doesn't work like that on a Mark 14. At least I can't see any evidence of that at all. Seat belts go down the back of the seat and through down the back of the bulkhead. So I need to look at how I'm going to do the seat belt arrangements, but I don't have to worry about that just yet. So that's that bit dealt with. You've got the other parts, like this is the undercarriage assembly, and you've got these big massive pipe work coming off it. They're completely out of scale. They're far too thick. I mean, I would say that most of the pipe work, I'll put a picture up now, most of the pipe work is probably 1/4 inch tubing. I don't know what that is, but it's certainly not 1/4 inch if you scale it up. It's far too thick, so that all needs to be gone. Again, this is a de-icing system that sits right down the bottom down here behind that seat. You can detail it to death if you wish, but once the model's there and the seat's in, you can hardly see it, and I'll show a picture of what that looks like now. So that bit needs looking at, that bit needs looking at, and also it needs an additional parts. So now go back onto the instrumentation. Now then, that's a standard Mark 9 Airfix instrument panel, which is quite good actually. That's with the decals on that take you forever to do. That's a Mark 8. That's an aftermarket one. That's already, it just comes out of the box just like that. Fantastic thing. I think it's an Edward one or something like that. Superb thing. And the only difference is, this is the, that's chocolate by the way. The only difference is this is the PE version that comes with this upgrade kit, because the Mark 14 is slightly different to this. And when I say slightly, if you look at it, we've got most of these dials and stuff are the same, and the only thing different is that one there. That's it. So, and that dial's not there anymore. But the other ones are all pretty much the same. I've looked at most reference pictures, and as near as damn it, the only one that's different is that one. Now I don't want to use this if I can help it, because it's quite a big job. I need to find the part that it connects to. Back in a moment. Oh, found it. Got bits of Spitfire all over the place. This is the bulkhead that the instrumentation fits to. Now that one just glues straight on there. Job's a good one. You don't have to do anything to it whatsoever. If I use the aftermarket resin one, I have to chop it to bits and I have to cut all this away and work out where to put that. Which I'd rather not do if I can help it. So I need to work out how to emulate that little bit there, because I can't cut this one off because I think it'll just shatter. If I can, I will. It looks like it might come off, but I doubt it very much. So I might have to just replace that bit on there and then remove that dial and make it look like this. That's if I want to be super duper picky, but it does need doing if I want to do it properly. So that needs looking at. And also I'll throw up another picture. This part, that's a field cock, some sort of like that doesn't exist on the Mark 14, this bit here. So that needs to come off, and it has an additional fuel pump arrangement, which is here. This is a beautiful resin part, and I'll show a picture of what that looks like. And that goes on top of the landing gear arrangement when I find the right way around. When it's on the model, I'll find the fuselage side. It won't be a second, I'll be back. Okay, I'm back now. Yeah, it comes with a new resin undercarriage thing, which is fine nice, and it's got some levers to fit on and everything else. And this part here fits something like that there. So it's quite a tricky thing to fit in, is that, because you've got to fit it in the right place. I'm not sure where that is yet. So that needs looking at as well. So there's quite a lot to do with this cockpit. So at the moment we've got all these parts to fit in there, plus some other bits, and then all those little bits, which are all the PE parts that come with the kit as well, which are fantastic, but they're so tiny and small. Beautiful things though. That's part of the throttle quadrant, I think. Yeah, that's the throttle quadrant there. That's a beautiful throttle thing. It's so much nicer than the kit one. So I've got to look at getting all this in the right place. So get a cup of tea and we'll get cracking with it. Okay, first thing I've done with I've managed to use this instrument panel. What I did, I managed to cut off that unit off this one and stuck it onto there, painted it black. I think that's perfectly okay. Other than that, it's pretty much the same thing, so I'm happy with that. Another little job done. I fitted a bit of PE from the Airscale kit. It's just a metal strip. It's got rivets on it that goes right around the bulkhead that gives it some rivet detail. So I've just basically super glued that to there, and I've removed the I think it's a petcock that's getting replaced, so I've removed that. I did make a hole where that other one was, and I filled that in with some Sino, so that'll get painted green. I've also removed on this, basically I've removed this, I've removed that, and I've removed these wires that come down here. The wires aren't like that, they're more random, they're much more random than that. So they're gone now. So we just need to work out the next parts that need adding to that, so just get in there. Okay, I've done just given that a coat of primer actually. So I filled all little gaps with a bit of Sino just to make sure it was a good seal. So that bit of PE's in there now. I don't do much on camera, but it just gives you the opportunity to just scratch the tops off the bolt heads, so it gives a bit of detail. You can't see hardly any of this stuff when the cockpit's in the cockpit, but hey ho. Also, on the Mark 9, there's a light in the bottom of the fuselage here, which obviously on the other side of the wing you can see it. If I've got the wing handy, I'll show you what it doesn't exist. See, if you notice on the Mark 8 wing, there's no light there. But on the Mark 9 there is. So when Airfix built this, they didn't bother changing this part, which you can't blame them really, because the light's still there on this kit, and I've just removed it. I drilled it all out and filled it and then painted it again. It doesn't matter really, because the seat goes over the top of it and you can't see it at all when it's built. But hey ho, took it out anyway. I've got to mention the reason I did that is because I may make it so you can actually take the seat out, because it does kind of it is possible to do that. So if you have the seat, because it kind of fits on those little tabs there, into those little slots there, and they're quite a good fit. You can just make them just sit like that, and it sits quite comfortably in that space. If you can do it when it's in the model is another matter, but There's no reason why you couldn't in theory. And if you do that, it opens up another opportunity then to add more detail that you can actually see. So I did it before. If you look at some of the older videos, I did actually put control cables in, etc, etc, but the problem is you can't see them when the seat's in. So if I make it so that the seat's not in there half the time, just for fun, you can see everything along this bottom fuselage half, or bottom of the fuselage floor. So that light needed to go really. So I'm going to do that anyway. I'm going to put the control cables back in, because when this bulkhead's in, again off a different model. When I say a different model, it's a model I've scrapped. It's not that building anymore. When this bulkhead's in here, and you've got all the foot pills and everything, they're very, very visible. So it's well worth doing it, and it's quite a nice bit of detail to do. But they don't have there's no control cable link, so you have to fabricate that as well. So anyway, we'll get on to that. I'm just starting to add some of the structure into the bottom of the fuselage so I can start to get on with things a little bit. So that bit goes there, which is a pivot for the foot pedals basically. So I'm just going to let that set and I'll be back in a minute. Right, I just want to fit the bulkheads in the floor, or one of them at least at the moment. That one needs to go there. I have drilled these two holes out here a little bit bigger, and I'll explain, you'll see why in a minute. So this is the control arm for the rudder that goes through those two holes there. Now if they're covered in paint, they're quite a tight fit and they can scratch all the paint off. And then we've got this bit, which is like a framework that holds the whole thing together, and that sits on a pin at the top there. So don't glue any of that yet, just make sure that bulkhead's lined up, and then we'll drop some glue in there. I'll just hold that bulkhead, and when it's set we'll take it apart again. I've just bobbed on that fuselage side just so I can line that up. It doesn't actually move much, so I can glue that one in there bottom as well. Don't glue it to the side obviously. Right, I've taken all of the bits off there now. I'll put the fuselage side, this side on, and then offer up this part. And make sure you clean off around that edge. Make sure there's plenty of clearance all around that edge there, but you can't see that edge once it's in place, so that it sits well and truly snug into the base of the cockpit floor. This kit's got very tight tolerances, and if you get this bulkhead too high, everything will sit low and nothing fits right. So just make sure it sits nice and snug into the bottom of that cockpit floor. And use this side as a jig so you know that it's sitting in the right place. And now we can glue that bit in as well. Again, don't get any glue on the side bits. Just hold that now until it sets. Okay, right, there's some resin parts in the kit that replace these parts here, but I don't think they look very good, and I can't find reference to them on real photographs that have any significance anyway. So I'm not putting those in, I'm keeping the kit parts there. At this stage, this part can now be painted, so you can start adding things to it. So anything I add to this now, it's going to be metal, not plastic. Obviously there's these parts going in there, but I need to add some wires now, some detail and everything, which will be made out of wire. And then when they're glued in, they'll be glued in at the back of the bulkhead where you can't see. So I need a basis to start adding detail to, and this is it. So this bit can now be painted. Okay, I've painted the cockpit floor, and I've added the instrument panel as well, just to because you can at this point. And what I've done, I've just dry fitted the whole thing together again. It pays to do that with these models, because if you don't get the cockpit tub in the right place, it doesn't fit, and the wings the fuselage sits high, and it tends to make the wing roots not kind of look right. They tend to sit low like that, and they end up with a gap on the wing roots there, and it looks horrendous. So it's just a good thing to kind of keep trying it and make sure everything seems to be fitting all right, which in this case it's fitting beautifully. I'll talk about the wing root fitting situation a bit later on in another video. In fact, I've already done that in a different video if you want to go look up on my YouTube channel. So that's good. So what I've done, I just want to see what you can see down there. I've done this before, I just got to remind myself really. And I want to see if you can put the seat in afterwards, which you can. Imagine the canopy is there. I can't really do it with them holding it as the back. I don't know if I'll do this. I'm just going to do it anyway, just to see if you can do it. But that's the canopy in place. So you can just hook the seat in there and drop it into place. I'll have to do some tweezers. So it will just drop into its little mounting point just there. Obviously it needs making a bit more. Need to design it better to do that, but it will do it. So you can get the seat in and out really. So in theory I could take the seat out, and then you can see all the stuff in the bottom of it, which is quite extensive now. Once the seat's missing, it's a very visible thing. You can see a lot more detail in there. See all the controls, all the stuff at the back, the pneumatic bottles at the back here. That people think they're oxygen bottles and not oxygen bottles. That's for the undercarriage as far as I can remember. And the sticker, the actual decal that goes on them's wrong. It's nothing to do with oxygen. So yeah, you can see all the pipework and stuff that's from that, and then you can see you could in theory see the radio in there. I'm not going to put a radio in anyway. But I didn't consider this when I've looked at photographs of these. They don't seem to have this strut across here the same. It's like a round wire. There's no antenna on top of there at all. That's gone. There's no light on top of there. That's gone as well. And there's no radio mast structure in there either, and I don't think this cross beam piece here is in there either. So all that needs to be taken out, which is good because it means you can see more stuff. And I want to be able to show the cable routing from the basically the rudder bars and the the control stick and the rudder bars. So, and they're doubled up as well, so for every control movement there's 2 wires, so there's quite a lot of wires going to run down that fuselage. But I can't have them run right to the back. I don't want them running right back here, there's no point because I'm not going to connect to anything. But I do need to run them quite a bit down the fuselage because you can see down there. So somehow, take all this apart actually, I'll try. So when I fit the wires for these cables, they can't just stop here because you'll see the termination at that point. So when this cockpit comes in place, I want the wires to keep going down here somewhere and terminate around there somewhere, because that's probably as far back as I can go, or maybe there. So I need to make some sort of structure to kind of support the wire. I'm going to use solid steel wire that runs down here somehow, so I need to fit something to do that. So that's something I need to consider. Anyway, so we're getting on there now. The next stage, I've taped all this together now. These bulkheads can all go in, but I need to paint them first, because back half this fuselage from that point onwards there in theory is silver. I don't know if they are or not on these, but I'll do them silver anyway. So that's the next job, to paint that and to paint the bulkheads appropriately and get them fitted. Okay, I'm just trying to fit I'm fitting the control cables to the rudder bar. And what I've done, there's normally a flat on the end of that. I've just cut that off. And I'm drilling the ends out with a little drill. Trying to get it square. So I'll do this, and then I'm going to fit some tubing in there with a flat on it, and then the wires are going to fit to it. I'm just showing what I'm doing. It'll all become apparent when I actually do it. The first job is to drill these out about maybe, I don't know, 2 or 3 mil down there. Okay, to make the rudder cables, this is 0.33 nickel rod. And what I've done at that end, I've made some little, basically, it was strips of plastic card of the very thin stuff. So there's one piece on that side, one piece on that side, and then there's a plastic card peg in the middle. So if you see it from above, kind of get the idea what it is. So it's just sandwiched between the 2 pieces of plastic card. You can't make, I can't do it anyway, I don't know if other people maybe can, but I can't make it any better than that because it's so small. You could 3D print one, I suppose. You could 3D print it better, which if I can get my 3D printer working I might, at the moment I can't. So I think that's not too bad. So that spaces the wires apart because there's 2 wires per side, and because I drilled the holes in there, when they're in place and painted, and that's painted, so what I'll do, I'll paint that like a brass colour basically, then I'll just glue that onto there when it's in place, which will give the cable effect. I think that'll look alright when it's in the model anyway. So what I'll do with that now is I'm going to mask that off about to there, and then I'll just prime it and then I'll paint it brass coloured and see how it looks. Okay, this is just dry fitted in there obviously. This is how it's going to work when this cockpit tub is in place, as in glued in. This can be then, these control cables for the rudder can go. Can't trigger this. I'm just holding the front so I can't hold it in here. They'll just plug in there into that bit, and what I'll do, I'll secure them at the back here somewhere with something. So that's those bits done, but they're what we're going in very much at the end of getting the cockpit together. So I just now have to work on the one for the control column itself. Now that connects to, if you look at this bit, Airfix have put this part in here, but there's nothing else. There should be like an angled piece that goes backwards and forward like this. So the control cables come off that one, then off the top one, and then they go back to the prospective control surface, so you can't see where they go. But and then when it's in the model itself, there's the control column, or the joystick if you like, has a rod coming from it that connects to the bottom of there, so I've got to fabricate that as well. So that's the next stage. Okay, this is the control column. Still needs a bit attaching to it, and this is the rod I'm making. It's just a piece of it's plastic tube with wire running through it actually. I got it from a railway shop. I've put a piece of brass tube on and I've split it down the end at one end, and that will now glue onto there. Like so, when it's in the model obviously. So yeah, that's how I do these. So that needs to dry, and I need to fit that bit on top of it, but then it's painting up yet. So I think it goes that way. Yeah. Nope, goes that way. Talk rubbish. Goes on there like that. So when that's painted up, I can get that, but I need to work out how long to make it at the other end, and that, if you imagine, I'm just going to chop the end off that for a second. If you imagine that's the other end, but shorter, that will just disappear into there because you can't see it. Actually, I'll just squish it up a bit and it'll just disappear underneath there because you can't see it at all. And then it'll have a triangular piece coming off there, and then I'll have the other cables coming off that. Okay, at this point I'm going to end the video because I've ordered some parts. I need some brass tubes, some very thin brass tubes to go over these wires. So I can't proceed with the video side of it until I've got the parts really. There are some little bits I need to do, like this rudder bar here. I'm not happy with the this arrangement. I'm not happy with these plastic parts here. You can paint them metal and they just look like painted metal, so I don't like it. So what I'm going to do is get some, I'm going to turn up some aluminium tubes to fit. I'll cut these off, drill a little pilot hole, and I'll show it when I get on part 2 of this cockpit build. But I'll basically make some aluminium tubes to go in there so it'll look more like proper metal, if you like. Again, the holes will be drilled in there like this, so I can then mate onto them these wires. If I use these, I might do something else. Yeah, I've not decided, but waiting for parts. So I'll be back on to part 2 of building the cockpit. So catch you on the next one.